Hannibal, my son. Stand before the gods and swear, from this day until your last, that you will always be an enemy of Rome.
Violated the treaty that binds you.
Your treaty is unacceptable!
I will remind you, the last time Carthage resisted Rome, your fathers were buried in the fields of Sicily. Those that didn't greet the dirt with open arms, we sent to serve Neptune in the waters of the Agates. The Mediterranean is undoubtedly ours, not yours. You gifted us whatever scraps of it you held when you and your mercenaries scurried back to your barbaric fishing village. And I am sent here to ask you to decide between peace and open conflict, as if you truly have a choice.
I choose war.
And so it came to pass. It is 218 BC, and the Second Punic War began with Carthage refusing to hand over their general, Hannibal Barca. Hannibal was recalled from his base in Iberia, and made his way to his home city of Carthage. But the Roman Senate did not sit idly by, and an expedition was mounted to attack the city of Carthage itself directly. An ambitious young commander was elected to lead the expedition. Young Publius Cornelius Scipio was given command as general of the expeditionary force. And so, with a massive fleet, the Roman legions arrived and invested to besiege the city. Hannibal, stuck in the city's perimeter, took command of the defenses. Scipio sieged Carthage for a year and created his own fortified walls of circumvallation to besiege the city until, fed up with the slow siege, the young general ordered a final assault. Hannibal himself led from the walls and fought side by side with his men. Hannibal's distant cousin, Akbar Barca, led Carthage's fleet penned into the city's circular harbor. Siege towers made their way to the city walls, and some were either set on fire or outright destroyed by the city's defenses, and men were crushed by boulders from Carthage's ballistas. Meanwhile, the massive Roman fleet landed troops on the beach, and Hannibal's brother Hannibal Barca led the defense outside the walls. Pretty soon, once they were fully committed, the Carthaginians surrounded the cut-off beach attack, and they were slaughtered to a man. Meanwhile, at a breach in the walls, Scipio rescued the men, but they were held back by the sacred band, Carthage's elite soldiers. Soon Akbar led a breakout of Carthage's fleet and destroyed the Roman fleet in the harbor entrance. Scipio's attack was broken and his men ran, and Scipio himself was caught up in the panic as the Roman siege was broken. Scipio himself survived, but his army was destroyed, and many of the survivors were either lost in the desert or were cut down during pursuing Carthaginian horsemen. Scipio, taking what survivors he could find, took what ships were left and went back to Italy. Hannibal himself was celebrated for his brilliant defense, saving Carthage itself in the first action of the war. But he did not rest on his laurels. It was now 217 BC, and soon Hannibal and Akbar took a fleet to the strategically important city of Syracuse in Sicily. The city opened its gates for Hannibal and celebrated him as a hero. Rome, getting wind of this, organized another expedition, this time aimed at Syracuse. Scipio was once again made general of the army, and he arrived but didn't spend the whole year besieging the city. He once again made his circumvallations, but only after a few months, the impatient general chose to mount another full attack on the city walls. Once again, Admiral Ackbar led the battle in the harbor, and Hannibal repelled Scipio's assault and broke his army. Scipio was wounded in the retreat and spent the next year recovering. Meanwhile, Akbar ferried his cousin back to his power base in Iberia. Hannibal took his personal army of some 80,000 men and elephants up through the Pyrenees, and then in the winter of 216 BC over the Alps. The dangerous trek killed nearly half his army, but the men who survived were the strongest of his men. Hannibal would go on to defeat Roman armies at the river Trebia and Lake Trasimene. Without Scipio, the Roman legions were effectively leaderless. Meanwhile, Akbar led the Carthaginian fleet to victory over the Roman fleet, breaking Roman power in the Mediterranean. The Roman Senate, angered by the numerous setbacks, drafted the largest Roman army ever fielded by Rome. Over 85,000 men filled the ranks of the Roman army, and it was determined to break Hannibal once and for all. Hannibal marched south, and in the town of Cannae he set his trap. Scipio was recovered and joined to lead his Roman army once and more. Hannibal met the Roman army in the field with 50,000 of his own men. The massive Roman army was compacted into a massive block, meant to crush Hannibal in the center. But Hannibal had a trap. Scipio ordered the attack, and Hannibal's cavalry defeated their Roman counterpart. Hannibal pulled back his men in the center and sprung his trap. On the flanks, his Carthaginian infantry closed from the sides in a double envelopment. Meanwhile, Hannibal's cavalry returned to the battlefield and completely surrounded the Roman army. Slowly, over the next hours, Hannibal's army cut down the surrounded Roman army, and few escaped. Hannibal personally sought out Scipio in the midst of the massacre, slew his rival in personal hand-to-hand combat. The Roman army of 85,000 was wiped out virtually to a man. Most of the survivors coming from the Roman cavalry had retreated earlier in the battle. The Battle of Cannae served as the pinnacle of Hannibal's tactical genius, surrounding a superior force in open battle and annihilating it. And so, with the Battle of Cannae over and Hannibal's chief rival in the war, Scipio, killed, nothing seemed to stop Hannibal from marching on Rome. And that's exactly what he did. In 216 BC, in the summer, Hannibal besieged Rome with his army. Hannibal focused on a single portion of the Rome's walls. His ballista crushed the defending towers, and Hannibal personally attacked the wall alongside his men, sharing the same dangers. The fighting on the wall was fierce, but eventually the experience of Hannibal's men overtook the untried Rome home garrison. Eventually, Hannibal came face to face with the last Roman consul defending the city. Hannibal himself personally led the charge against the last Roman unit, and Hannibal personally engaged the consul in combat. But eventually, the cowardice prevailed, and the man was swept up as his men ran. He was eventually caught and executed in the streets of Rome. And so it came to pass that the Roman Republic, destined to rule the Mediterranean for 1,000 years, was ended by a single man. Roman power was broken, and Carthage rose in its place. His victory at Cannae is still studied to this day, and Hannibal himself found a measure of peace in his life.